Kristen here, and welcome back to my channel. I wanted to start today's video with a big thank you to you all for helping my channel reach 100K. I'm hosting a giveaway to celebrate, and the details are coming later in today's video. Okay, so before we get into the tutorial, we will first review the materials, starting off with our fiber. This skein of yarn is from this year's line of Caron's Anniversary Cakes, which I am excited about. This colorway is their Book Club colorway, and one of these skeins has 1,061 yards of yarn. That is 970 meters. This is more than enough to make a nice size throw, but if you'd like to make a very large blanket, I would highly suggest you buy 2 of these cakes. Now, they run about $40, but they're usually on sale, so I was able to get this at Michael's for $27.99, which is a really good price for over 1,000 yards of yarn. Next, you'll need a interchangeable crochet hook. This is a 12 millimeter interchangeable crochet hook, and you can tell by this little tip here where you can insert a cord. You'll also need the cords to go with your hook, and I have 2 here because I'm going to connect them, because as we work, our blanket is going to get so big that it's going to be too many stitches for 1 cord to hold, so you'll need to have 2. And in order to join those 2 cords, you'll also need a cord connector. And so there is a spot here and here where you can attach 2 cords and connect them together. You will also need a stopper or an end cap. This goes on the end of your cord just so that your stitches don't slide off. And then this is like a key. This will just allow you to tighten your hook to your cords and your cords to the stopper. One of the main things I see folks complain about when it comes to using, whether it's interchangeable hooks or interchangeable needles, how the hooks come loose from the cords. And a good amount of the time it's because they attached them with just their fingers and didn't actually use the tool to tighten it up. So even though it may seem just like an extra step, use your tool to tighten your hook to your cord or your needles to your cord, because it will keep the hook attached firmly to your cord and you don't have to worry about it coming off and then you losing your stitches. So you'll also need a second crochet hook. I'm using a 7, but you could use an 8. And this will be used at the end when we are adding our crochet fringe, if you choose to use that method. Of course, you'll need a pair of scissors and a tapestry needle. And then optional is stitch markers to mark your 2 center stitches, and then tape measure so you can keep track of your progress as you go. So once you've gathered all your materials, you're ready to start this project. All of the materials will be listed and linked in the description box. Okay, to get us started, we just need 1 of the cords. So I'm going to put my cords, I'm going to attach my cord to my hook. And I'm first starting off by just screwing it on. Then I'm going to take the key here and just, insert it into a little hole that's on the side and just gently tighten it until I think it's nice and firm. And then I'm going to do the same side. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side with our little cap here. And make sure it's nice and secure. And just to show you a close-up of the little connector here, there is, if you can see it, a little hole here where you can insert your key, and it's the same thing on this side as well. And now get that out of the way. And I'm gonna set our stitch markers here for now. And so another tip I can give you when working with this yarn is to leave the label on. Also leave this clear plastic band on. This is a lot of yarn and it can be a lot to manage. And as you start to use it and it loses its shape, you don't want it to turn into a big mess. So just leave it wrapped up. Eventually though, once it gets to a very minimal amount, you will have to probably roll it up into a ball just fine, but to keep your sanity, do not remove the label, do not remove the plastic wrap. So if you get a skein that is unused, you should have this little dot here, and your beginning tail should be underneath this dot. So all you have to do is just pull it out, and then you are ready to go. In the pattern, there are 2 methods listed to start this pattern off. So one of the methods, which I feel like is probably more beginner friendly, is to start off by chaining 6. So you would chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you would set up that first row by going into each of the chains and pulling up a loop. Now the first loop on your hook is your first stitch, so that's stitch 1. And then we're gonna work into the back bumps of our chain here and pull up a loop as we go. So insert your hook into that first bump, yarn over, drop a loop, insert your hook into the next one, yarn over, drop a loop, and continue on to the end of the row. When you get to the end, you should have 6 loops on your hook. Okay, that was a little tricky. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so now we will work a return pass. And your return pass will be exactly the same for every row in this pattern. So first you will yarn over and pull it through the first loop on your hook, or the last stitch that you worked. And then you'll yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and you'll continue doing that until you get to the end of the row and there's only 1 loop left on your hook. And so if you use this method, this is what your first row will look like. And then this will be the first stitch of row 2. Okay, now I'm going to show you the second method, or second option to start off this project. Okay, so the second option to start this project is by using the magic loop. And that is the method I use in the sample that you will see in this video and on Instagram. First, you'll start off by making your magic circle. And what I like to do is take my yarn, drape it over my fingers, make a circle, and then take your hook, insert it through the center of that circle, grab your yarn, pull a loop through, and then chain 1. And this will secure your magic circle in place, and you're able to adjust the size of the circle by pulling it as needed. So we won't adjust it right now. We're going to adjust the size of our circle once we've completed creating all of our stitches. So now we're going to create our stitches for the first row. And remember, we're starting off with 6 stitches. And this chain 1 that we made here is our first stitch. So now I'm going to make our additional 5. So first you'll insert your hook through the center of the magic circle, yarn over and drop a loop, and then chain 1, leaving your loop on the hook. And then you'll repeat those steps again. Insert your hook through the center of the circle, yarn over, pull up a loop, chain 1, leave the loop on the hook. And I'm going to continue doing this until I have a total of 6 loops on my hook. Okay, so we have our 6 loops, and now we will work our return pass, and we'll work it exactly the same. First you'll yarn over and pull through 1, then you'll yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and you'll continue yarning over and pulling through 2 until you get to the end of that row. Now, before you're done, you'll need to tighten up this circle. So you'll just pull your beginning tail and cinch it closed. And now it's nice and smooth. And so you have this tail here, and you can weave it now, or you can wait until the end and weave it later. I will wait until the end to weave it later. And just to show you our stitches, oops, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches. Alrighty, so now we are ready for row 2. So from this row forward, we will be making 4 increases in each row. This will not only help us to grow our blanket wrap, but to shape it as well. So the increases will be in the second stitch of every row, the second to last stitch in every row, and in your 2 center stitches. Now it's easy to see those 2 center stitches now because there's only 6 stitches. And usually when I work this pattern, I do not use stitch markers, but I know with all of the color changes, it can be a little hard to see them, especially in the beginning, until that little braid design starts to form. So if you find that it would be helpful for you, take your 2 stitch markers, and I want you to place a stitch marker on stitch 3, which is your first center stitch, and place a stitch marker on stitch 4. And then as you are working each new row, just move your stitch markers up a row so you can keep track of that. But you'll see as the blanket begins to form that it becomes a lot easier to see where those 2 stitches are, because they create this nice braided kind of spine looking design that goes down the center of your work, and it'll be easy to see. So for row 2, I'll put our hook back on our loop back on our hook. So to start off, we will work a Tunisian knit stitch, and then working in the same stitch, we will do a Tunisian simple stitch. Now the next stitch is our first center stitch, so we will be increasing in this stitch as well. So first we'll work a Tunisian knit stitch, and then a Tunisian simple stitch. Now those stitches were pretty straightforward, but now we are working on the other side, and we want those stitches to mirror what we've done on this side. So we're going to do twisted versions of those stitches. So first we'll start off by doing a twisted simple stitch, and it's the same as your traditional simple stitch, except instead of inserting your hook from right to left, you'll be inserting your hook from left to right. And I find that it's a lot easier for me to just kind of grab it with my hands to lift it up to insert my hook underneath. But I know some people find it easier to just grab it with the hook and twist their hook this way. So whatever works best for you, do whatever feels comfortable, what feels most natural. But you'll see as I work through this project that I will grab the stitch so that it's easier for me to insert my hook underneath. So in our second center stitch, I want you to first make a twisted simple stitch. And then working in that same stitch, you're going to do a twisted knit stitch. And I'm going to show you the twisted knit stitch one more time. So our stitch is already turned a little bit because we put that twisted simple stitch, and it's caused the stitch to kind of flip from being faced this way to this way. So the back is more exposed than the front. So it's a lot easier now to just insert your hook in between those, the front and back of that stitch, and work your twisted knit stitch. And so now we're going to repeat that again because we're at the second to last stitch. So I'm going to work a twisted simple stitch, and then a twisted knit stitch. And so here's what we're looking like so far. We have our 4 increases. We did an increase here, 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 and here. And so to finish off this row, we now need to work our edge stitch or our end stitch, and just insert your hook through behind both of those stitches, yarn over, behind both legs of that stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. And at this point, you should have 10 loops on your hook. So we'll count them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now you will work your return pass. So yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, and then continue yarning over and pulling through 2 until you get to the end of that row. And so here is what we're looking like so far. And like I said, at this point, if you're still finding it hard to see where your center stitches are, just move your stitch markers up to the next row. I would say about row 5, it should be easier to see that braided design, but here's the one we just did. You'll see them more easily as you continue to work. So here we are. Okay, and so now it is time for row 3. And row 3 is going to be what you repeat for the rest of this pattern. You're going to have a total of 61 rows if you work this pattern as written, but if you choose to make your blanket bigger, you'll continue adding more and more rows until you reach your desired size. But you'll just repeat the steps for row 3 until you come to your desired size. And so now we will continue working in our pattern of making increases in every row. And again, we are only making increases in the second stitch of the row, the second to last stitch of the row, and in our 2 center stitches. And all of the stitches that are in between, we will just make Tunisian knit stitches. So I'm putting my loop back on my hook, and now we'll begin to work. So first we'll start off by making a Tunisian knit stitch in the second stitch. And because this is our increase stitch, we will also make a Tunisian simple stitch. And so now we will work a Tunisian knit stitch in the next 2 stitches. We'll make Tunisian knit stitches until we get to our first center stitch. So if you're following me in the pattern, you should have made 2 Tunisian knit stitches. And now we've made it to our first center stitch. So we will first make a Tunisian knit stitch, followed by a Tunisian simple stitch in the same stitch. And now we are moving on to our second center stitch, and we're going to do a twisted simple stitch. And I'm just lifting up the stitch to make it a little bit easier, followed by a twisted knit stitch in the same stitch. And now we will work Tunisian knit stitches until we get to that second to last stitch. So 1 Tunisian knit stitch and 2. And now we've made it to our second to last stitch. So you're going to work a twisted simple stitch, followed by a twisted knit stitch. And then you'll finish off the row by working an edge stitch or an end stitch. So at this point, you should have 14 loops on your hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And now you're ready to work your return pass. So you'll yarn over, pull through 1, then yarn over, pull through 2, and you'll continue yarning over and pulling through 2 until you get to the end of the row. Here's what it's looking like. And as you can see, it's starting to form like a triangle shape, which is exactly what we want. So I will continue increasing, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like once I'm done the body section. And then we'll go into an explanation of how I do the crochet fringe. Here is the body of our blanket completed. I have a total of 61 rows, and I have about 89 yards of yarn left. I did want to show you one thing before we continue to our fringe section. You'll see that once I completed that last row, I did not cut my yarn, and that's because if you are doing the crochet fringe, you do not need to bind off. Just keep your yarn intact, and we'll continue straight through to the next section. So in the next clip, I'm going to show you how we do the crochet fringe. So I've worked about half of the fringe for the blanket, so I think this is a great stopping point to demonstrate this crochet fringe technique for you. And I think if you've never used it before, you will enjoy it. So to start off, first we'll slip stitch into the space where we'd like to place our next fringe. Then I want you to extend a loop out to double the length of what you would want your fringe to be, and then begin to twist. And I want you to twist about 2 to 3 twists for every inch. So I'm going to twist 18 times, and then I'm going to slip stitch back into that same space to secure my fringe, and then let go. And it should curl up into this nice little fringe here, and I'm just measuring to see if it matches the one we've already done, and it does. And then to continue on, you'll just slip stitch into the next one and repeat those steps all over again. So I'm going to continue doing that until I finish all of my fringe, and then I'll come back and show you what the completed blanket looks like. If you don't want to use this technique, you can also do just a single knot fringe where you cut individual strands. It's up to you, whatever your preference is. Okay, so here is the completed blanket, and these are the final measurements. I did include 2 pictures of my friends modeling the blanket so you could see how it falls on different heights, and hopefully this will help you determine if you need to buy a second skein or not. But it comes out to a pretty decent size. Before we wrap up today's video, I wanted to share the details for the 100K giveaway. 3 winners will be randomly selected to receive 1 Caron cake so that you can make today's project. To enter, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, like this video, and then leave a comment to let me know which color you like and share an idea for a tutorial you'd like to see on the channel in the future. The giveaway period ends on Friday, October 4th at 9 a.m. Thank you so much for your support. I look forward to seeing what you all create. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments box below. And until next time, bye!